Why you'll never be happy unless you fix this. Let me ask you something. Now, why aren't you happy? Seriously, think about it. You have a roof over your head, you have food. You're probably watching this on a nice phone or laptop. So why do you feel empty? Why do you wake up every morning, go through your routine, do everything you're supposed to do, and yet somehow it still feels like something's missing? I'll tell you why. Because you've been lied to about happiness your entire life. And no, this isn't some just be grateful speech. This is the hard truth, a truth so uncomfortable, most people don't want to hear it. But if you do, if you actually listen, it might just be the one thing that finally sets you free. Now let me tell you a story. The guy who had it all and hated his life. Meet Daniel. Daniel is exactly the kind of guy people look at and say, man, he's got it all. He drives a BMW. He lives in a high-rise apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows. He wears a watch that costs more than your rent. And yet, Daniel is absolutely miserable. Every night after work, he orders takeout from some fancy place, sits on his designer couch, and scrolls through TikTok for hours. Just scrolling mindlessly. Because the second he stops, that's when it hits him. That quiet, creeping feeling in his chest, that thought he doesn't want to face, the one whispering, "Is this it?" So he does what we all do. He convinces himself he just needs more. Maybe a promotion, maybe a bigger apartment, maybe a girlfriend. Then he'll be happy, except he gets the promotion, he upgrades to a penthouse, he gets the girlfriend, and guess what? Nothing changes. That's because Daniel has fallen for the same trap as everyone else, the one Friedrich Nietzsche called the slave morality of happiness. It's the belief that happiness is always somewhere out there, just beyond your reach, like a treadmill you can't get off. And here's the part that really stings. It's not an accident. The great happiness scam. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly content? Not excited, not distracted, not kind of okay, but actually deeply at peace? Most people can't remember. And that's by design. You see, we've been trained since birth to believe happiness comes from the outside. From things, from achievements, from approval. And guess what? That belief, it makes people very, very easy to control. Think about it. If you were genuinely happy right now, you wouldn't need to buy anything. You wouldn't need validation. You wouldn't need to spend money chasing some fantasy version of life. But if you're almost happy, if you feel just a little bit unfulfilled, then guess what? You'll keep chasing, buying the next thing, wanting the next promotion, trying to impress the next group of people. Society doesn't want you to be too miserable. That would make you rebel. But it also doesn't want you to be too content, because then you'd stop playing the game. So instead, you're kept in this permanent state of almost happy, almost satisfied, almost at peace. Just enough to keep you going, but never enough to let you rest. And that, my friend, is why nothing ever feels like enough. But here's the good news. There's a way out. And the answer, it's something ancient philosophers figured out thousands of years ago. The truth about happiness that no one tells you. Back in ancient Greece, there was this philosopher named Epicurus. Now, people get Epicurus all wrong. They think he was all about pleasure, like some ancient party animal. But in reality, Epicurus believed something radical. He said, happiness isn't about having more, it's about needing less. And at first that sounds crazy, but think about it. Kids are happy playing with a cardboard box. Dogs are happy just running around outside. But adults are always waiting for the next thing to finally make them happy. So what changed? The truth is, happiness is actually very simple. The problem is, we've been convinced it has to be complicated. Because the second you realize you don't need all the things they've been selling you, you become free. And they hate that. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, so what am I supposed to do? Go live in a cave, give up everything? That's not the point. The point is to stop playing the game. To stop waiting for some future version of life to finally make you happy. And start realizing you already have everything you need. Think about it. Right now, wherever you are, just breathing, just existing, you could be happy. Nothing is stopping you except the story you've been told. So here's a challenge. For one day, just one day, try living like Epicurus. Stop chasing, stop comparing, stop scrolling, looking at what everyone else has, and convincing yourself you're behind. Just exist. See what happens. Because the happiest people in the world, they're not the ones with the most. They're the ones who realized they already had enough. And the second you realize that, that's the second you win. The wake-up call. Most people will never be happy, not because they can't be, but because they refuse to let go of the lie. But you see the truth now. And that means you have a choice. You can keep chasing like everyone else, or you can finally be free, because real happiness, it's not in some future version of your life. It's right here, right now, Alarma. And the only question left is, are you ready to stop running? Or are you going to spend the rest of your life almost happy? Subscribe for more uncomfortable truths. Have a good one.